Hey guys, Chris here from Carolette Miniature Horses. I wanted to start this morning off with a few updates. So with these nice warm sunny days and spring showers that we have been receiving as of late, we have a lot of grass that is beginning to grow, and grass is a good thing, right? Who wants to look out at their farm and see muddy pastures? However, more grass means that the minis are ingesting more calories, more sugars, and so we are continuing to monitor everyone closely. And so far, everyone's doing really, really well. But having been off the farm for the last couple of days, I went to a competition, 4-H competition this last weekend. When I returned home, I did notice where we had a good significant growth in the grass in just a few short days. I have had to step to the front. The back porch was just so bright, I couldn't bear it. But I wanted to finish my updates, and I wanted to let you know that because the grasses really are taking off and growing quite well, being springtime as grass tends to do, we have noticed that even in the barnyard, where we have been trying hard to restrict Clover's grass intake during the daytime and evening hours, even the grass there has really grown quite significantly over the weekend. And although it's not lush grass, it is still proving to be more grass than Clover himself is able to really eat down and to truly make more of a dry lot area. So because of that challenge, I have decided that it will be in his best interest to return back to his owners, where we know that they can completely restrict his grass intake if that's what he needs. He might not need that. He might continue to be fine here on a little bit of grass, but it's just not a risk that I feel comfortable taking. And so we have made the decision to return Clover, and he will be heading back home in the next 24 hours. So very sad to see him go. He's been a lot of fun this past month. But I also feel comfort in knowing that what we're doing with his utmost best interests at heart. And that's what's really, really important. So I'm gonna miss him, but that's what's best. My third update for the morning has to do with the garden behind me. It's been so lovely and warm. The garden plants are doing well. However, this is Virginia, and this is still the first half of April. And although the temperatures over, last week and weekend were up close to 80, if not higher, and the evenings were in the 60s, 50s, we are now expecting and preparing for what could be a hard frost tonight with a low of 29. So after I take care of the horses and get them all squared away, I then need to turn my attention to the garden, because I definitely need to get everything covered up and protected. I have a 4-H meeting this evening, which means I'll be stepping off the farm in a couple of hours. I've got some errands to run before the meeting, and I might not make it back before dark. So my task after taking care of the horses this morning is to really tackle the garden and to make sure that everything is covered. I've also got some little plants in this gray planter behind me that are coming up from last year. So again, I'm gonna wanna cover them. I mean, anything that is young and tender, I definitely wanna do my best to cover up. So wish me luck. That could take a little while, but it's Virginia, and that's just part of it. So for gardening, it's never a dull day.
Here is a look at just a couple of the small, tender plants that have started to leaf out in the last few weeks. I will be working to cover these as well as the garden to protect them from the cold and frost.
Luckily, we have not yet put any of our tomatoes into the ground yet, so they will continue to spend the next few days here in the house, and we will not have to be worried about the frost nipping these guys. So I'm here down in the barnyard, and I just wanted to show you up close kind of the status of things. We still are not near as green as, say, in the ring, right? However, if you look real close, kind of through the yellow straw and hay, remnants of hay that are here on the ground, you can still see a fair amount of green grass that is popping up. And I've just noticed a significant increase in the last couple of days. And that was really what sealed the deal for me, and really deciding that Clover would be better off at his home. And here at Carolat, we don't quite have the setup to meet his needs. So I just wanted to show you that up close and personal. I've not yet picked the barnyard. It's still a little dirty, but in comparison to the second half of the barnyard, which we have fenced off, which is quite green, and the ring, you can see Snuggles here. It's still a lot less grass, but it's still more grass than I would ideally wish for my semi-dry lot. I've just finished picking the back paddock, and I put the hay out for the day. I've got 4 piles. It was 2 flakes that I have shaken out, and then Clover will get another flake all to himself in the barnyard. But this is how much hay we've been giving so far this time of year. Again, it's the second week in April. And currently the 5 minis have been eating around 3 flakes of hay in the morning and then 3 flakes overnight. So just trying to document that so I can remember next year. When I first thought about getting minis, something that I just wasn't sure of was how much hay would they need, right? We've owned full-size horses. We typically fed round bales. We only use squares for when we had the horses up in the stalls. Forgive my gate for being very loud and bouncy here, but with the minis, I just didn't know how much hay they would reasonably be eating. And I know it's different for every farm, and every horse is unique as well. So this year, though, as we journey through this first year, I am really trying to document how much hay they eat, so that next fall, late summer, fall, when I get ready to order hay for the winter, I'll have a much better sense of how much hay should we be looking to store. We sort of ran out midwinter this year. We went through it a lot faster than I thought, with the snow and the ice and all of our winter weather. So, not only was I tracking how much hay they ate in the winter, but I'm also tracking now as we head into the spring and the summer. And a lot of our hay usage is also dependent upon the grass, right? The more grass they're eating, the less hay they consume. And we also need to be mindful that we strike the balance, though. So again, the horses are now getting 3 flakes of hay in the morning and 3 flakes in the evening. And that's currently suiting the 5 minis that we have on the farm. Here in the barnyard, you can see I have 2 flakes. It's 1 flake split into 2 piles. And there's a little more inside the stall for when Clover ducks in, usually during the mid-afternoon hours. But another thing that helps us keep track and sort of monitor how much hay we should be feeding our minis is how much hay they're eating. It helps us make adjustments, and it also helps us know kind of where their needs are. So that's another reason why a lot of times you'll see me in these videos talking about how much hay the horses ate or they didn't eat, or how much was left behind. And that's just another way that I am working to be more aware of their needs moving forward. I just went ahead and I have closed Snuggles and Clover here into the feedlots. Sweetheart's in the back pacing the gate. She is ready for the little boys to come in. So I'm gonna grab them now, and then I'll put Snuggles into the bottom and let Clover out. Just makes it easier when they're not all coming and going and moving about. So next on my list is to grab Rockstar and Shenanigans. We had really heavy rains yesterday, and you can see here in our ring area we have some standing water. There's another puddle over here. Most of our ground is the Virginia red clay, and so the drainage does take a little while, but within a day or so usually these puddles will have dried up. But we did get a lot of rain yesterday. I don't know if you saw this earlier when Clover was running around, but he has this reddish spot on his rump here. I've seen him itching and rubbing. I imagine this was from rubbing on one of our red gates, but he was just in the feedlot kind of scratching. He's still real itchy. We're still working on trying to get some more hair off of him, but he is gonna go home tomorrow. but I'll give him at least one more really good grooming. So just want to show you that in case you saw that funny red splotch up on his rear end. It's just where he's been rubbing himself on a gate. You can even see remnants of Clover fluff here on the red gate. He was just in here, and horses will be horses. When you've got an itch, you got to scratch it. Another area I have recently started to spread manure is along the ring fence line. We have our fruit trees and bushes right here, sort of up on top of the hill, and then the ground kind of comes down, and the ring was actually cut into the hillside a bit, and so this real low-lying area gets real muddy, and we haven't had much success growing grass down here as of yet. So I figure with all of this great manure, I will use it like we did in the ring to try to help fortify the ground. Again, we've got a lot of this red clay that doesn't have a lot of nutrients in it. You know, if you have areas around your farm or your home that have not been growing a lot of grass, the horse manure is great. You know, the best thing, of course, right, would be to compost it and to really have the pile get good and hot and to kill off all of the weeds and the different seeds. That takes a lot of time and it takes space and it takes tending. So for us right now, we've got a lot of manure on our hands, and we have a lot of places that are pretty much in immediate need. And so we're just using the fresh green manure, and we are full aware though that that means we might also get some weeds coming up with the grass. But again, no big deal. Right now it's more for erosion control, and we don't so much mind if we have to then later go back and take care of the weeds. But first and foremost, we're spreading our manure, and we're just happy that we have this wonderful organic material. So it's one more plus to having horses. I'm trying to video for you and it's quite breezy, but next to do here is covering all of our garden plants, our lettuce, our cabbage, our Brussels sprouts, broccoli, and cauliflower. I've got our green garden cloths that we're going to be putting over our hoops and securing. So let me get to work, because we definitely need to protect these plants. It's going to get really cold tonight, a low of like 28, 29, and that could even be colder here on the farms. I forgot to get my clips here for the garden cloths. I had them in the barn, so I had to come back down here. Clover kind of came over to say hi, and the other horses were curious to see what I was up to. Whenever they hear commotion, they usually come over to the gate and perk their ears. But now that I have my clips and my garden cloth, I can really set to covering those plants. I've just finished covering our garden plants here with the 4 green cloths, and I've got the clips here you can see along the edge, as well as just little pieces of lumber to help hold the cloth down from billowing too much. So I think we've done what we can do for now, and you know, just kind of cross our fingers that everything fares pretty well overnight. So hopefully this will truly be the last time we have to really cover everything. Here are those volunteer plants that we found in the compost. We think they're cucumbers. It's a little hard to tell. Some young plants resemble each other. These here in the round pots I just dug up though. We will thin them out later tonight, but I wanted to dig them up before the frost comes. So these guys will stay nice and warm inside the house, and we'll have to wait and see what they are in the future, but our money is on cucumbers. As I prepare to step away from the farm for a couple of hours this afternoon, I just had one more thought that I wanted to share with you on the garden, and that is, having covered the garden plants at the height of today's temperature, I'm hoping that that will help to keep the ground and the plants underneath the green cloths a little warmer. The green cloths can act as like an insulating barrier and create a little bit of a greenhouse effect underneath there. So again, I'm hoping that with the extra warmth that is building today under the cloths, we have a few more afternoon, sunlight hours, and the heat will just continue to build underneath those cloths. That, along with the frost protection that the cloths themselves will provide, should hopefully protect those plants. But we'll have to wait and see. You just never really know. Sometimes you think, oh, you've got everything covered really, really well, and somehow some plants still get nipped. So we've done what we can. So thanks for kind of joining us today. And, you know, hopefully if you have spring plants like we do, they are covered and protected and faring well. So we'll talk to you soon and we'll keep you posted.